Hey guys, this is Julian of Julian Gray Media, and today's Julian Talk, my conversation from me to you, unedited. I'm going to be discussing Mac versus PC for music production and digital art in general. I'm going to focus on the music side of things because I know it the best, but let's just get started here. So, with the whole argument of Mac versus PC, it's a very stupid argument. In the first place, I realized that many years ago. They do the exact same thing for anything art related. The only exception is software compatibility. We'll get to that in a minute. So in the artistic field, Mac and PC are essentially the same things. In most realms, they're exactly the same. The only difference is that in other things, like PCs are good for customability, gaming, tinkerers, people who like to build things themselves and take things apart and that sort of thing that aren't really available on things like a MacBook Air. A Mac, however, is always going to be reliable. It's going to always work as like the cliche. It just works. It always works for the most part. And when a Mac dies, it dies hard. You aren't going to fix a Mac. You can fix a PC. And ease of use is a thing for Macs. They're built to be really, really easy to use and basic for consumers that are just getting into the computer market. And that was the whole idea of the Apple machine in the first place. But for music production, both of the machines do the exact same thing. And people who argue the difference between Mac and PC and which is faster, which is better, are arguing over rudimentary, very, very tiny differences between the two, because if you get a good enough Mac, it'll compete with a PC and vice versa. Another thing you have to worry about is security. PCs are not the most secure machines, but if you are smart with a PC and you know what you're doing, you can counteract things like viruses, spyware, and malware and stuff. As you can see, I'm updating right now, but I would show you. You can counteract that kind of thing if you know what you're doing on a PC, but like I said before, on Macs, they are secure, they're ready to go, and they're basically made for beginners and people who want to be living the easy way on the computer. If you want to deal with problems, if you don't want to deal with problems, go with Mac. If you aren't afraid of problems and you want to kind of troubleshoot them yourselves, go with a PC. But that's not to say that PCs have problems either, because depending on what you put in them, you can get a great PC, you can get a weak PC. It just depends on how you build it yourself. So let's just get into the actual music production aspects of Windows versus Mac. Common misconception, all hardware is going to work with a Mac and a PC. You can get a sound card for a Mac, it will work on PC, and vice versa. There's a few exceptions to that, but not very many. For the most part, anything that you buy for Mac will work on PC, and vice versa in terms of sound cards, in terms of audio interface, etc. MIDI devices are the same way. They both have MIDI control mechanisms. They both can function with USB, anything for that matter. Anything you buy from Native Instruments or any other company will work on both Mac and PC, and they've made a good valiant effort into doing that in modern day. The only thing that separates the two, and now let's get into it, is software compatibility. Now, Apple is notorious for their closed-end system. Anything on a Mac that is produced by Apple will not be on a PC, period. You can't get iWork, you can't get Final Cut Pro, you can't get Logic Pro, and there's a ton of other apps that you cannot get on a Windows machine if you want them. You just can't do it. They're Apple exclusive apps, and Apple has made a big deal about keeping them exclusive to their own platform. Windows has a few that are very similar. Sony Vegas is one, FL Studio is one, and that sort of thing. But in terms of just hardware manufacturer apps, Apple kind of rules that realm. They make all their own apps for their own things like video, graphics, music, etc. So if you want to go with Apple exclusive apps, you have to buy a Mac. In terms of music production, That pertains to Logic Pro and GarageBand. GarageBand comes pre-installed with most Macs, but if you are planning on getting into music production, it might not be a good DAW to start, or it might be a very good DAW to start with because it's very simple and basic. And it offers the upgradability to Logic Pro by importing GarageBand files into Logic, which is pretty cool actually. PC is the same way. You have things like FL Studio that only support the PC. A lot of famous producers use FL Studio, a lot of famous producers use Logic, and personally, I use Ableton Live. And Ableton Live is a multi-platform program, as is Pro Tools, Cubase, Reason, and most other DAWs are multi-platform in today's day and age. So if you are planning on using Logic or FL Studio, you're going to have to tailor your platform to whatever you want to use. If you want to use FL Studio, you're going to have to pick the PC. If you want to use Logic, you'll have to pick the Mac. So, that's long-winded, but so you'll have to tailor to what you want to use if you want to use those two programs. If you don't want to use those two programs, you're pretty much set for DAWs. Any other DAW pretty much is going to work on either platform. The only other thing to consider is VSTs and other types of plugins. You might want to check compatibility for each platform. I know that there are some VSTs that only support Windows, like Walk has a series of breaks and things that don't work on Mac, and Mac has a lot of audio units, they call them, on the Apple side that don't support PC platforms. So if you expect to use those, you're going to have to pick a Mac or a PC accordingly. So this is just some things that you might want to keep in mind if you're buying a new computer, if you're thinking about switching between Mac and PC. If you do have both, I recommend getting things like Splice that allow you to sync between the two. Really cool things like that. I'll put a link above me now. Allows you to sync projects between the Mac and the PC simultaneously on DAWs like Ableton Live that support multi-platform. But I hope that helped. I hope you guys understand the differences between the Mac and the PC for audio production now. If it did help, let me know with a like on the video. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike and let me know why you disliked it in the comments below so I can tailor the next video to you. If you have any ideas for future videos, let me know in the comments as well. And subscribe for future videos because I make them every Wednesday and Friday. So you can check out my website above me now, and thank you for watching. This is Julian of Julian Gray Media, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.